everybody. Welcome. I am Nick. And just to let you know, I am a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. And I'd be discussing a lot of fun things here. But I would like to introduce my co-host here. I'll let him introduce himself.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. I'm Dr. Trent Corey. I'm a physical therapist, owner of Extra Mile Physical Therapy here in Vancouver.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm excited for this. Basically, what we're going to do is talk about some of our favorite things and try not to overwhelm you with the minutia of all the sciencey sounds and words and everything, and get to what would really apply to you if you have no idea about science and anatomy. But if you do, we can always talk more later about that kind of stuff. So one of my favorite topics that I'd like to get into is barefoot shoe running, and what your thought as a physical therapist and a runner is on those barefoot shoes.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, there's a lot, kind of a loaded topic, a lot of things that you could talk about, but mainly the key part is kind of how your body is adjusting to a shoe and how your body is able to adapt if you are trying to transition into shoes that are more minimal. You got from the top, these big fat shoes, the Hokas that are, so thick. And then some people who are going to just paper thin, you can kind of roll the shoe up into a ball. And there's a lot in between, and it just depends on what's going on with the arch of your foot, but then also other factors of how well you're able to stabilize your body when you're standing, right? So, how strong are those hips? How strong is that core? If your knee's collapsing in, what's happening there? So a lot of things need to go into consideration. I basically tried to do the transition to barefoot shoes when the book Born to Run came out. If you remember that, around 2009, 2010. I popped into the barefoot shoes, the Vibram Five Fingers, and started to gradually work on my wear to improve, just improve my foot strength, get walking a little bit. This when I was up in Longview, I'd take walks along the lake there, like Sacagawea, and just take some nice long walks, just getting used to it, eventually built into a run. And it took me months before I started feeling pretty comfortable running. However, I started to feel a little discomfort in my foot. And I was like, okay, well, just take it easy. Let's just not do as much. And I was thinking in terms of gradual being months for me. Looking back, it would have been more like years. And it has been more like years for me to go from a big shoe, the old air structured triax, which was just like a big brick. And then I had a full length plastic orthotic in there. And then here I am trying to do, barefoot's really cool. And I'd like to try some things to get my foot stronger. Thought maybe over the span of months would be gradual for me, but ended up getting a stress fracture, making the story short, had to take off some time, getting a boot and that kind of thing. So really, the lesson came pretty hard to learn the hard way how to not transition, thinking that I actually was gradual and I really actually needed more time. So if someone is thinking about it, more the just being light on the earth and just being really soft on your stride and trying to adjust to different shoes, you got to be really careful with how you bring that down gradually over time. And it just depends on how your body's able to adapt, and just let it to have more than enough time than you may even think. So that's kind of where I kind of realized, yeah, I probably just, was really ambitious to do it. It was a thing I'm very still passionate about, still love walking barefoot, and occasionally I'll do a loop around the neighborhood barefoot, but, and it just feels great. It's good for the earthing effect. Your body just gets those, it's just a natural high that I get from just having your feet on the ground, electromagnetically discharge my charge from being around something electronic like this. So I definitely find the benefits are great, but just have to be aware that if your shoes, and I know I'm talking a lot, but like the main thing is like if your foot is in a shoe that's kind of like a cast for so long, your foot has not had the ability to adjust as well to all those loads, making all those finer movements. That makes it challenging for it to do that when you all of a sudden are loading your whole body on there at 2 to 3 times your body weight, and trying to adjust to the ground. And so it may be able to do that for maybe 100 yards at a time at the beginning, or
Right.
not even that. We're just going for a walk and then kind of build up into it. So yeah, the key is to be gradual, and there are certain ways to do that. But generally, just building up that strength is what I do for a lot of folks. Getting that connection to talk, how that foot is going to talk to your brain and know
Right.
your body's balancing. So that's kind of a little cautionary tale, but it's really important for us to understand that, you know, the gradual shifts, especially if most of us have in our adult lives, we've probably been in shoes for most of our time. You know, we might walk around barefoot around the house, but we don't have that, you know, that loading that is necessary. So we need to have that, that build up time to make sure that we're adapting well. So
Yeah. Well, that's one of my favorite things to say is that our shoes are casts for our feet if we're having it so snug and then having the shape of it like squish, because I've had a lot
yeah,
of issues, calluses and seed corns and things like that that have caused plantar fasciitis for me and different things like that. But I too also went from really thick insoles and like basically mattresses for shoes to
yeah,
barefoot, and I ended up with like peroneal tendonitis, and then a lot of my bones would get kind of like immobile, and I'd have to get them adjusted and things like that. But
yeah.
what to something to help my clients in personal training is to if you don't want to just snap right into it, which I don't recommend anymore, is to start training barefoot, do the grounding like you're talking about,
Mhm.
do foam rolling, myofascial release, and I do certain exercises like just lifting the big toe and then alternating with the little toes and trying to spread,
Yeah,
maybe even toe spreaders, doing a grab with the toes with a towel and then an extension. So you're working on the flexion and extension of
yep,
everything. Build up a lot of the balance barefoot, and then go back to shoes and kind of see if we can do some of those similar movements so that you're not, your proprioception awareness of your body and everything isn't built just on the feet or just on the shoes. You can go back and forth, and then gradually your body gets adapted to going both, and then you can graduate lower and lower into those like zero drops and
yeah.
wider toes. So
Yes, absolutely. And you know, like we just talk about those individual, they call it toga, right? Toe
yeah,
yoga, right? Getting those individual digits. If you never haven't tried that, give that a try because it's really tough. It's actually, you know, usually we get this big old lump of toes moving together and then maybe the big toe, and it's a good place to start. But then trying that even just sitting, then building up to, you know, putting some weight on sitting, and then, you know, maybe a crouched and then maybe standing and trying those different things. Yeah, and then yeah, and then also what I want to talk about is you talk about the proprioceptive thing. Yeah, getting your shoes off is wonderful to kind of help improve your balance and get the feel of the ground. But then just knowing that a lot of people are not even interested in this. A lot of my runners, you know, they want to have a shoe that's supportive and that feels good. And that's the key part is like a lot of times, this is one of class I went to a long time ago, Brian Heiderscheid, who's a biomechanist, you know, not a shoe guy, but actually you know, a physical therapist who went over how to improve running form and help people get better. One of his questions he would ask at the intake was, are your shoes comfortable? And he said, you know, sometimes it was over 50% of those people. I mean, it was a large percentage. I can't remember because it's been a long time since I took that class, but it was a very large percentage of people who said, no, my shoes are not comfortable, which was just shocking to him. And actually is to me that a lot of people may have been told to be put in a certain shoe based on their shoe type or their foot type or whatever. But when they went out and ran, they just didn't feel comfortable in their shoes. So that's really paramount, making sure that your foot feels comfortable in there, you feel well supported, and it's a moving target. It's different for every person, so you have to feel out what feels good for you. It's really important for you to be comfortable with a lot of these running stores that you have a return policy. Go try them out for a little bit and see if they feel right. If they don't feel quite right, it's okay. Try different things. There's always, you know, there's so many different brands and they change all the time. It's important to kind of notice how things are shifting for you, and it just kind of increases your awareness of that. And then with training with your shoes, like you said, balancing barefoot to get the feel, but when you're in the shoe itself, you know, you got to feel through the shoe, right? So, you know, I tell people it's like, you know, you're typing with oven mitts on. It's, you know, you can kind of feel the keys, but you can't really feel them. So the important
right.
thing is but if we're going to be training and working on our shoes, and essentially we're standing on one leg and then we're standing on the other leg, right? It's a single leg activity. We need to get good at single leg balance, feeling through the shoe, and how that adapts, and how we're able to feel on top of that. So it is important to do both to get that feeling, and then making sure you're not over gripping, but how the intricate play of like how you're feeling that through the bottom of your foot, where the weight distribution's happening, and then where you are, and like we teach in chi running, how you are according to your center of mass, which is kind of like where your belly button is, making sure that as we shift transitions that we're able to feel the ground and we're able to have this nice flow to it. So it just takes some practice and just more awareness. And within a session, I see, if I practice balance, I'm sure you see that too, Nick, is like, as you practice it, even within the session, person can get actually quite a bit better. And all that is just awareness of your body. And all of a sudden you kind of figure out where your body needs to be placed to help that. And it's a great activity to help the neuroplasticity. The brain is talking to the body, body's giving feedback. We're getting a lot of information happening, and it's a lot of work without looking like it's a lot of work, and just standing on one leg, or just balancing on something. There's a lot of complex things going on, which is super beneficial.
One of my favorite things, the mind-body connection back to the toe yoga, is if somebody can't move the toe, the big toe, I have them actually reach down and lift it up a couple of times, and that
Yep.
teaches the body to move it, and then the brain knows what to tell the body. And then with balance wise, like you said, you could see stark differences from a 5 minute session where you got the wobbles at first, and then the body's like, okay, I can do this.
Yep.
And then you don't have as much, overreaction. You get more really true, strong balance and everything.
Yeah.
But that's one of my favorite things to watching people to just have out of control, and then by the end of the session, confidence and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's But I'm intrigued. You mentioned chi running, and I want to talk about that because I'm into qigong and tai chi and all of these things, but I've never heard of chi running
Yeah.
until introduced me to it. So I want to talk a little bit about that while we still have some time.
Definitely. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Chi running actually comes from Tai Chi, Tai Chi running. So, Danny Dreyer, who was, he's the founder of Chi running. He actually was a Tai Chi practitioner, and he learned from great masters around the San Francisco area. And then he learned from his master. He kind of talked about, hey, I think I could apply this to about any sport. He's like, yeah, I think you could, and they kind of incorporated these concepts into running form. And Danny applied this very diligently and became a very decorated ultra runner, and ran and won many races, 50 miles and up. He was definitely he's in his 70s now, and he still runs a marathon every year, or whatever he wants to do. He's so smooth, and that's what it is. It's the smoothness of motion to line your body, and then basically a gentle tilt forward, and then we're trying to relax our legs and not work our legs. A lot of people, if everybody, a lot of runners out there, they know that their legs get really sore while running. And obviously you're going to still use your legs while running, but we try to use in chi running our bodies to get momentum so we can use our legs as little as possible. And so that's what we're trying to do, is create this nice flow where our bodies are aligned, and then we're able to relax our legs as much as possible. And then we're able to tilt and flow into the next stride. So we're not wasting energy going up and down or side to side or pushing. We're not trying to push off the ground. We're trying to just lift off the ground and be as quiet as possible. It creates a nice, smoother form. And, during a marathon, the amount of vertical displacement for each stride that you take can add up to about a vertical mile straight up. So all of that load that you're pushing to go up is not in the direction you want to be going. So the more we can kind of clean that up, and if we're this high and then we go down to this high, and we're being able to keep ourselves kind of low to the ground and just kind of flowing over the ground, that's going to help us be a ton more efficient. And I've had many clients who've gone through what I teach, and they're like, wow, this is amazing. Is it normal that my times per mile drop 30 seconds? And actually that happens quite a bit. Some people even more. I had one client who was 13 point. He ran his half marathon, and he killed it. He was getting in better shape, and I can't take all the credit, but he got improvement by like 20 minutes or something nuts like that. And the big thing was he just practiced a couple things. I didn't even go through much. I had a couple sessions with him, but basically just taught him the basics of alignment and relaxation. And he took it and ran with it literally and ran really well. So it becomes a very helpful thing for us to just decrease the tension, not trying to push our bodies. And, once you learn it, it becomes a thing that's becomes easier. It just becomes something just like, as you've probably learned in Qigong and Tai Chi, it's a practice, just like yoga or anything, or going to the gym. It's something as you practice it more, you become a lot more efficient at it, and then it just keeps giving more benefits. So it's a wonderful thing. I'm glad I've learned it, and I'm happy to teach it to anybody who is willing to listen, and they can definitely get benefit from it.
So do you do that as a group session or privately, or?
So I do both. So a lot of times I'll have runners and walkers together. So there's chi walking too. We'll go through the walking form, make sure you're getting basically the first thing is posture, getting your posture aligned, getting the feeling of that kind of thing, and then getting into single leg posture like we're talking about, right? Standing on each leg, getting that feeling, know where your whole body is in relationship to your foot on the ground. And then we start to do movements where we start walking and moving. And we go from walking to running if people are up for running, and it just depends on where we're at, but it's mostly just focused on getting that posture down with a single leg each time, and then practicing and getting more efficient with that. And it's just in a fun environment. It's usually something where we're just trying to teach it as a bunch of fun drills, like, kids learning things. Kids are the best learners on the planet. We want to try to teach it in a playful way. So you kind of mess around, we play with it and we stay with it. That's the key part. It's just doing just a little bit and get a little better with it. And it's a great time. Usually I do it in a group class. It takes about an hour or so. And then a lot of people will then take me up and see me in the clinic, and then we'll go more one-on-one. So I do both. And also if somebody has any injuries or some sort of thing, that becomes a big part of how I help them get better is, okay, if your foot's crashing down, you're pushing hard, you're putting a lot of stress on your joints. Can we now kind of get you feeling better with whatever joints issue, if it's Achilles or if it's knee pain or whatever, and IT band, hip issues, whatever it is, get that cleaned up, make it feel better. But then we need to look also at how your form is, because if your form is really rough and you haven't had anybody really look at it, or at least you're not paying attention to why that might be a cause, even if we just clean that up, just even 5% more efficient, becomes a huge difference in how someone can be better with their longevity with running. So that's kind of what we're trying to get them over the hump, where they can start running again and then not continue to re-injure. Because that's kind of how I came across this was, I get somebody better and I'd go over a few basic things on form, but didn't have anything comprehensive that they could kind of take in as a system. And so I'd have these people with my techniques or with therapy, stretching, etc. They'd feel better, but then they'd go back and just re-injure because they didn't have the tools because they're just going out and doing the same thing that got them injured. So finding ways to make that more efficient is a huge thing for me, and want to make sure runners stay healthy and happy for years.
That's the reason that I became a personal trainer. Was I was doing that same thing before I became a personal trainer, and injuring myself and trying to run and thinking I was doing everything right, and I had actually no idea what I was doing. And then I found some good coaches, and then they taught me a lot, and I wanted to be able to pass that knowledge on, and it just became obsessed with it. So that's why I love talking with you about the running and everything. I'm going to actually have to try chi running to see how my body reacts to it, because that'll be the next step in my running journey. But yeah, the balance of my body, my hips were always off, and then that was causing different stresses in my body. So when my coaches helped me balance out my body, I stopped having running injuries.
Definitely. Yeah. Symmetry is key. You got to have the body balanced. If you don't have that, then it's really hard, because you're kind of, think about a car as something that's kind of clunked into one side all the time would be a problem. So we want to make sure we're complete as balanced as we can, and that will help us quite a bit. So, and our body's very adaptable, but a lot of times just that same pounding every single way, every single time. That's why training, getting stronger in all different aspects, like you guys work on all the time, getting the core strong and hips and balance and all those things are super important to make sure that control those movements that are kind of going side to side and up and down. But yeah, the other things are just trying to get all those things to not be continually going to one side or that kind of thing. So that's super important, and it's a great way to kind of help people get to the point where they're feeling better and doing it for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I love all of that, and I think if I am able to grab a video when I meet with you and do some chi running in the group, or even just one on one, I'll kind of make a video diary and I'll tag it onto this episode. But yeah, I think that's fantastic. We're running a little bit close to the end of time. Is there any last minute things you'd like to say before we sign off?
No, I think the main thing is just, be aware of what your footwear is. You have to go gradual with that. And then, go to those folks in town. They really know their stuff and they can tell you all the latest things to work on, especially with footwear. And then I'm always happy to, with Chi running, going over how that improves efficiency and gets you better with that, because even just these minor shifts can make a huge difference. So, stay with it and you'll be glad you did.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to put all of our information for all of your chi running and everything that you do in your clinic down at the in the comment section, or even somewhere so that's easily accessible. And I'll have all of my information also. Again, I'm Nick, and I work with Northwest Personal Training, so I will have all of our information there too. And we can do some more dialoguing and on the chats. And if you're interested in chi running, definitely have something in the chats, and reach out to Trent or myself, and we'll get connected with you. But it's been a pleasure, and thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
All right, Nick, thanks a lot. All right, take care. All
You
right.
too.
Yeah.